Hello, Renee. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Isom, one of the faculty at the Chicago School. And the 10 Big Questions is just an opportunity for us to get to know each other, and more specifically, me to get to know you, and also for you to have the chance to provide any insights to students that will be following in your shoes through the program, and just any insights you might have for them.
Okay,
So
I'll try
with
my
that
best.
Great, great. So with that said, we're going to get started. Um, First, I want to kind of learn a bit about your past, and what brought you here. So my first question is, what was your first job and how did it prepare you for your current role?
Oh my goodness. So if we're going like first job, that was way, way long ago. Yeah, I did some babysitting when I was 13, but the first job where I got an actual paycheck, I actually worked at McDonald's when I was 16. So, and I actually worked full time. I worked full time in the violates the child labor laws, but they weren't as stringent back then. So, showing my age a little bit, but yeah, I did that, and it did show me. It introduced me with a variety of people, which was good. So I got to interact and uh, with a lot of individuals, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different cultures. Especially where I lived, it was a big um, what do you call it? A big area for tourism, as well as a big military area. So it was a large, very large melting pot. So that was very beneficial. It kind of exposed me early on to various cultures and things of that nature.
Great. And we all have our own unique career path and what led us to where we're at today. And it's, certainly in the counseling field, being able to work with a variety of personalities and different people certainly helps and contributes to what you're going to be doing and currently doing in the counseling field. So, um,
Absolutely, absolutely. Definitely trained me to be in high stress environments, which I work in mental health now at the largest acute inpatient behavioral health unit in the state of New York. So it's massive.
and it's interesting how connections in different jobs, regardless of what they are, you gain different experiences and insights that can certainly help you in whatever job you do. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, no problem. Thank
Um,
you.
as you reflect on your career, what is your most significant accomplishment?
Oh, well, that is a that, I'm not really sure. Well, I would say pretty, I guess just working in the time I have here at the behavioral health unit and just with my background and as well as where I'm moving forward in my education, they've already felt comfortable with me leading some of our patient groups, which I think is a very big compliment, you know. So usually those are led by our nursing staff or the social workers and or a rec therapist, and they're like, oh, let Renee do it. You know, Renee's got this and that. And plus I'm a certified meditation teacher as well. They're like, yeah, lead the meditation group. The patients will love it. So that's been kind of rewarding and kind of almost a nod of, yeah, you're going in the right place. So
Lots of people counting on you and relying on you, turning to you for support. It's great to hear, I'm sure. And it kind of leads into my next question, which is what is your most common compliment people have given you?
I think it comes from the patients, and it always just, you know, makes my heart, you know, flutter a little bit. And I have a lot of patients say, I trust you, I feel safe with you. And that's huge to me. Saying I trust you and I feel safe with you, that's a harder thing to find and see than I love you. So I take that very, very seriously. And I think that's the highest compliment anyone can give me.
That's great. And so not only do you have colleagues turning to you for support and insight, but then you also get that recognition from clients. And like, I think it's interesting that you said, um, I can trust you is greater than, just love, right? So they earn that trust through your relationship with them and interaction, being genuine, being a support to them. So it sounds like you're really making a difference and using your counseling skills pretty
I'm
strong.
definitely trying to.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So
Yeah,
switching
absolutely.
gears a little bit from work, just want to kind of learn a little bit about you. So my next question is, what are your favorite hobbies? And it's kind of a multi-step question. So if I have to repeat any parts, let me know. But it's, what are your favorite hobbies? How often are you able to do them? And what needs to happen in order for you to have more time for your hobbies?
Oh my goodness. Well, I work full time, plus obviously I'm a full time student. So that doesn't leave a lot of free time in your day.
Mhm.
So I do try to pivot the best I can. So one thing I do nightly is I shut it down at 8 o'clock. I'm like, nope, no matter where I am, 8 p.m. at night, it's done. That gives me 1 to 2 hours before I go to bed because I get up pretty early in the morning for work. So that's one thing. And then I do try, and I'm not always successful, I do try to get all of my assignments done by Thursday night, definitely by Friday night, so I can have Saturday and Sunday to myself. And I leave Saturday open, but I definitely try to get all of my assignments done by Saturday. So at least I have Sunday. I have one day where I can completely just deprogram. I'm not working. I'm not concentrating on schoolwork. That's my time because it's so important. And it may put a little stress on you in the beginning to cram all of that in, but that's just to me, that's better than having just a few hours each day rather than oh, I'm going to work on this today and this tomorrow and this the next day. I think it's really important to have that one day completely off from everything to kind of shut down and reset as
Sure.
well. And some of my hobbies, I actually am a published artist. I've had my art in comic books as well as museums. I still do some of that occasionally, but not as much currently, obviously. But I do try to do that, and usually that's more of an evening activity.
Mhm.
And then the weekends, I try to do a lot of hiking, as get out into nature and in green space as much as possible. Because again, for me, that's a great way to reset and kind of deprogram, de-stress. I mean, we all know what green spaces do for mental health. So, absolutely, me and my other half go out every opportunity we can just to get out in nature during the weekend, as long as it's not, the weather cooperates. So
Sure.
and so those are probably my biggest hobbies.
Great. So you brought up some great things. Obviously in the work that we do, it's always going to be there, right? So having
Mhm.
that regimen, that practice of, okay, 8 o'clock, shutting it down, trying to get everything organized and my schedule situated so that I have at least one day where I can just kind of, you know, do the thing, be me, do my thing, be able to do the things that you enjoy. And it was great to hear about your interest in art and of course, changing your environment up if you're always inside working in mental health or on the computer, writing papers and doing those types of things, being out in nature, um, having that recharge you and be a hobby. It was just great to hear that. So I know you mentioned your art. My next question was, how do you express yourself creatively? So didn't know if you might want to elaborate on that or share something else that you do that's creative.
Sure. Well, I do art. Though I am a published comic book artist, that is more, that's it's a little bit more work. But as far as releasing, I will do paint. Even though I've had some paintings in like local museums in the past, I don't consider myself a painter. I consider that more of that's my stress relief. That's processing. And I do what some art therapists may call like process art, just to kind of let it out, whatever's in there, just let it go. Things of that nature. I also do writing. I do like write. I like write songs, write poetry. I don't write as many stories anymore, but just because that also takes up a lot more time as well and a little bit more energy. And it's like, wait, where was I again? So that's something I've kind of just put on the back burner for right now, just because again, school, takes a big source of my time, and I want to make sure I'm dedicating the time I need to do that correctly. So stories have kind of been sidelined just for the moment, not forever, but I just take it more of an acute steps rather than get myself involved in some kind of major project because I don't want to overwhelm myself more than I already am. So.
Sure, no, absolutely. So still, using that creative outlet. Obviously you can do anything, but not everything at once. So being able to, just kind of keep those things in your back pocket to be able to, obviously dive into when you have more time and you're not, committed to your studies any further. You'll be working professional soon enough. So just great to hear how creative you are and the things that you enjoy. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And I do love reading too, so I do a lot of reading, and I actually one of the psychologists I work with actually graduated from the Chicago school, which is kind of funny. And she's looked at my library and she says, "You have more books on counseling and psychology than I do." I'm a licensed psychologist. So it's pretty funny. So we do that. But I enjoy learning. I always have. When you grow up and like the scenarios I did, it's very economically disadvantaged and some pretty rough neighborhoods too. You can either get involved in that, or for me, I used books and comic books and art and all that stuff and sports. Those were my escapes. So that's how I stayed hurt. But then again, I always excelled academically, and that's part of the reason why.
Sure. I think we're in sync. I'm an avid reader as well. And my next question was, what's the last book you read?
I actually just reread Post Colonial Native American Psychology again. And that's because our recent presentations that we had, I actually was a co-presenter with Dr. Van Meter on the indigenous perspective and cultural humility with the Native American population. So
Great.
it was rereading that.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I haven't read that one. I'm actually reading The Warmth of Other Suns right now. So, tapping into, um, narrative fiction and historical fiction and different topics of interest to kind of have that creative outlet while also exploring and enhancing your knowledge of other cultures and just topics related to content, I think is very valuable. So thank you for sharing that piece for anyone who hasn't read that yet and might be interested.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have plenty of books that I can recommend. So feel free to ask anytime.
Great,
Thank
great,
you.
great. If you could get rid of one thing on your daily routine, what would it be and why?
Oh, goodness. Probably the commute to work. It's like, oh, because it's luckily I don't have far to drive as I used to. I actually moved earlier this year, so my
Okay.
commute to work has been cut literally by over half, which is nice. I was commuting like 35, 45 minutes, and now it's like a 15-minute drive. But it would be nice, if I could would be able to just walk to work. It's just,
Right.
I don't mind driving, but sometimes when you're up that early, you got one eyeball open and the coffee
Mhm.
going on, and it's just,
Oh,
I'm
yes.
like, I'd rather not.
Yeah. Would be great to just cut that commute out, right? But I'm glad to hear that
Absolutely.
was
But I
a
will
little,
say it, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I'm just glad it's a little bit shorter for you now.
Absolutely. But I will say and I am too, thank you so much. But I will say the commute home sometimes is nice because sometimes you just need that time to power down a little bit and kind of you could tell it's been a real bad day because I won't even play music. I'll just drive home in silence and I'll just sit in the driveway for a few minutes before I go indoors. I'm like, I just need this quiet time to reset myself.
For sure. Yeah. So even though you have a commute, it's shorter now. And,
Mhm,
sometimes using that as a decompression or like a hard stop between the next
mhm,
thing that you're doing can be beneficial. So I'm glad that you are, even though you don't like it so much and probably would prefer to not have it, you're still
mhm.
able to use it to your advantage when you need to, especially on those tough days.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, I really wanted to talk a lot about self-care. And that's why I wanted to hear some of those things because we know that that's so hard and so important, and especially when you're wearing multiple hats and doing different things. That's an easy thing or one of the first things people cut out. But as we know in this profession, it's so important and to keep that as part of your routine because taking care of your mental health, obviously it avoids burnout and all of those things. So thank you for sharing a little bit about some insights on creativity and outlets and so forth.
Well, thank you.
Next, I want to focus, the next few questions are going to kind of focus on your advice or insights for students that might be watching and, currently on this path or early on in their studies and striving to become, mental health professionals. So my next question is, how do you advocate for students or even clients that you work with now?
Um, well, that's a good question. I try to take the lens of I know nothing, and just to, and it's kind of lewd, but one of our psychiatrists that just retired, he had a good point. He's like, he told this to our psychiatry residents. He's like, you don't know anything. Just because you have that MD or, behind your name, you know nothing. It's, we don't know anything. If we knew anything, then we would be able to wave a wand and solve all of mental health problems. We don't. And everybody is different. And we have to kind of approach it with that, I believe, because at the end of the day, we don't know anything, and we can't go in thinking that we're the expert, because that's doing a really big disservice to the patients or the clients, wherever setting we happen to be in. And we need to, remember that at the end of the day, the client is the expert. They know themselves, they know their experiences, and we have to shut up and listen. And I think sometimes a lot of people, they listen to respond. They don't listen to really understand. And that's something as a culture, I think that really needs to change.
Right. And then even if we're, listening, understanding what they're saying and hearing it in their, from their perspective too, right? Uh, so just recognizing that individuals are the experts in their own life, like you said, and just showing that care and concern and compassion and support. Yeah, we do have some training and expertise, but we aren't the expert of their lives. So remembering that is so important. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. And absolutely, I think we have to always remember we're teachable. No one is always right. And your way may be right for you, but that doesn't mean that's the way for everybody else. There is no right or wrong way. There's what this is the right way for you, but they might not be the right way or the right path for another individual. And we have to keep that in mind as well.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you. Considering, your training and being a part of the program and such, what is the best conference or workshop that you've ever attended?
Well, I haven't got to attend too many yet. And then some of them, unfortunately, are when I work, because I work until about 3:30 in the afternoon Eastern time. So a lot of them, if they're in the middle of the day, I unfortunately get to miss out. But I would say this current conference that I was just doing and presenting with Dr. Van Meter, that has been the most rewarding, because it felt like, okay, me as an Indigenous person, my our voice was heard, and I put that voice out there. We were called the invisible people for a reason. And it's kind of infuriating at times. It's like, well, why do I have to do it? But at the same time, I know it's necessary so people can start understanding the Indigenous perspective. So hopefully there can be that shift, and we can see Indigenous people be more willing to receive counseling services, which we know there's a barrier of mistrust for good reason, but hopefully we can get that shift
Sure.
started. And even in one of our textbooks, I noticed a particular word in one of our classes. I was like, hey, they use the term berdache, which means actually you're insinuating that all LGBTQ Native Americans are prostitutes. And that was something given to us by the anthropologist, and the book, just acted like this word was okay. And I'm like, I don't think you guys realize this word is not okay. And I brought it to their attention, and now they're trying, from what I was been told, is trying to change the textbook for the class. So that's a one. It stinks, because for people like me and other Indigenous students in the program currently, we have to sit with that because of the bureaucratic red tape that goes involved in changing the book. But hopefully that means for future people coming up in the program, they're not going to be misinformed. So that change is happening. So it's sad, but I'm also very proud of that this is changed, and that the Chicago School took it very seriously as well. So.
Right. So even though you have that sense of responsibility, which can be draining a bit at times, sounds like it's very impactful for you and meaningful for you. So it's great to hear about the collaboration you've done. So, you bring a unique lens to, course material and content and your experiences and upbringing. But also, you share a unique insight for individuals to, hey, collaborate with faculty, not only just attend conferences that, have maybe topics of interest or content that could be helpful to you in your work, but also collaborate in presenting because everybody has a voice and unique experiences to share and insights. So it's so important to
Mm.
use that voice. And even while you're in the program, be involved in those different experiences to advocate. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you.
And this leads to my last question for you. You've done great so far. Thank you so much, Renee, for um, being a part of this. But my last question is, what advice would you provide to future clinicians or scholars about learning to navigate difficult topics or dialogue and creating a safe space for that?
Ooh, not a loaded question at all, right? Uh, yeah, but thank you for all your kindness. But again, I think it's just being open. And I think for someone like me, sometimes I get blindsided because, of course, being an Indigenous person who's not currently living on their reservation, I'm surrounded by people who are different from me all the time. So being ingrained and around different cultures and experiencing cultural humility is a thing on a daily basis. I don't even think about it anymore. But from someone who's not from my perspective, who has grown up with the more Western lens, that may be terrifying for them. And I think it's just be open. And yes, we do have differences, and they're beautiful, and they should be celebrated. But also, the other side of that coin is the more you learn about other individuals, you do see these commonalities that unite us in the human experience and in being human. And I think those differences can be celebrated because you will see that we also have a lot of commonalities and that can unite us. And things don't have to be scary, they can be difficult. But if you are open and remain open and also are willing to learn and be teachable, we can, you can navigate those topics. And also just being obvious and just being truthful with the person. I don't know what you need, how can I help you? They will tell you, they absolutely will tell you. I've had some people that I like, okay, I'm a little ignorant. Admit your ignorance, it's okay, we don't have to be the expert of everything, no one is, we're all human. And just be willing to learn. It's like, how can I best support you? What do you need? And again, most of the time they will tell you, and that's probably going to be the best way to get through it. And if you can't give them what they need, then it's reaching out to resources and saying, hey, I don't know what to do here. This is what they need. Do you happen to can tell me where to go? And I think that's also positive. And just don't lie to people. Just tell them, okay, I hear you. This is what you need. Can you give me a little bit to work on it and things of that nature? And I think that's part of the reason, going back to the patients here, why I earned their trust, because I will not lie to them. I won't make excuses. I will tell them flat out. If they ask me something, let me get back to that. I don't have an answer for you right now. Or I'll tell them flat out, I'm not at liberty to discuss that. Unfortunately, you're going to have to talk to your provider. But I would never, ever, ever lie to a client. Don't sugarcoat it. Just don't, because that's insulting. Don't insult them. Don't, these people are, again, they're the experts of their own lives, but just be a genuine human being.
Right. And you can't fake genuineness, right? They're going to read right through that, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. So,
If you want to weave more distrust, just be disingenuous. Absolutely. Because they will shut down.
right. Exactly. So, have that, curiosity, have that interest in really getting to know them and who they are and what they're into. Um, Not pretending you know everything like you brought up before. Sorry about that. That's my dog. um,
No, that's
yeah.
okay.
So but yeah, just, having that genuine care and concern and interest, and not acting like you know all the answers. And even, when you say, hey, I don't know the answer to that, you're modeling for them that, hey, I'm human too. And, I don't expect you to have all the answers. I don't have all the answers either, but we're going to figure this out together. Um,
Absolutely.
so having that
Absolutely.
care and concern, I think you've conveyed that during this whole interview. Your interest in supporting others. Obviously, your colleagues think highly of you. Your clients think highly of you. I think you've given some great insights for students. So
Mhm.
again, Renee, I just really appreciate your time today and conversing and the different things that you shared about yourself. And I think that's a lot of insight for students that are watching. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Isom. I appreciate that. And thank you for taking your time out as well. It's
Oh, my pleasure.
appreciate it.
Yeah.